The day began with Trump's lawyers doing their closing arguments for the defendant, and they finished. I can tell you the scene outside court was more raucous than usual. There were Trump family members, there was Robert De Niro, and I was back downtown with our team of reporters and lawyers at the court today. So we were out there. I made some videos. We kept an eye on it. We're all working together. The closing arguments give jurors the pivotal, final, last material. It's a culmination of a trial that's featured 22 witnesses across 21 days, responding to hundreds of exhibits, thousands of texts, emails, and the call logs. And now it's all going down today. Prosecutors hammered the defendant as a habitual liar who hasn't faced consequences. They argued he has escaped justice. They ran through his role in a crime that required silencing women who could upend the campaign. So to remind the jury today why Cohen, Trump, and this tabloid empire did all these things, they explained the Trump campaign, more than anything in that crucial home stretch of October, they needed Stormy Daniels quiet. That in the simplest terms, Stormy Daniels is the motive, that she's the criminal motive. Now that's boiling it down to one person. Prosecutors then went through adding details, examples, and receipts. They brought back the characters that this jury has met. We've got some on the screen right now. Some of them have testified, like Daniels and tabloid boss David Pecker. Others did not, like former model McDougal, who you see in the middle there, or the doorman who was paid for his silence with suspicious terms that were for Trump and his campaign, not for any conceivable benefit to the tabloid. So today, prosecutors reminded the jury of these figures you see here, and they argued they were all linked in transactions comprising overt election fraud. Once money starts changing hands for the campaign, that's a federal campaign finance violation, they argued. And the tabloid chief admitted that his secret catch and kill agreement with Trump was a scheme cooked up by these men, which maybe got Trump elected. And the tabloid made this a legal corporate contribution in collusion with the candidate. So that's the campaign crime, according to prosecutors. As the old legal saying goes, whoop, there it is. Andrew Weissman is standing by, and I put it that way to help him connect with this material. Now remember, there have been some questions, even very fair questions, about the prosecutors' different potential theories of this case, and whether they would ask the jury to basically keep mulling multiple possible crimes that would make this fraud a felony by defendant Trump, or whether they'd focus in on one. If you're watching the news, you probably remember some of those discussions and debates. Now, let me tell you where it began. In the opening argument weeks ago, prosecutors did emphasize that Cohen went to jail for an unlawful corporate contribution from these payments. And the DA has been pushing that, but they also at times have cited the possible tax crimes and other theories. So here's another headline tonight, if you're following all this. This closing argument hammered the campaign crime. That the last 3 weeks of evidence, they argued, showed a conspiracy where illegal political goals were plotted and funded for Trump's campaign. But in a special illegal deal, if you can get a deal like this and get away with it, the Trump campaign didn't have to spend money, let alone admit to what they were doing in public. So that ties together the things the tabloid bought, from a false smear by the doorman, which we heard about again today, to stories from Daniels and McDougal. And the lead prosecutor kept telling the jury, use your common sense. This tabloid didn't pay tens of thousands of dollars to bury a Trump story for the tabloid's benefit, and with extra terms to publish any potential leak of that material. Burying Susan McDougal's story or the doorman story, that's not really in the tabloid's interest. They don't benefit from that. But if they were acting as a secret arm of the Trump campaign, then it suddenly makes sense. And the prosecutor, and I was sitting there watching him today, was saying, use your common sense. Who was this for? Who benefited? Why would they do that? And remember, the allegation here is deceit, that the tabloid was acting as a secret operator. So that former model McDougal, for example, was told she was getting some kind of media deal. But behind the scenes, behind the media entity, was Donald Trump himself. And that's something she later discovered. And so in addition to telling you what they're talking about in court today, which we're doing in our reporting, I want to remind you the context for this. We even asked her lawyer about that aspect of this whole plot when the story broke.
You're convinced now this was an effort to do a favor for Donald Trump in the last few months of the presidential race?
Unfortunately, yes.
Was the National Enquirer acting as the arm of Donald Trump and Michael Cohen? And if so, is there something wrong with that?
We strongly suspect they were.
Pecker said that he believed what Donald Trump was trying to do, the stories that he was trying to get buried, for the benefit of protecting his campaign.
There you have it. And this is what we learn as we go. Maybe you talk to people you know at home or in your life who say, I already know, I know what happened, I know what's going to happen, I know what the jury's going to do. Those people are full of it. Maybe they like sounding like they know more than they do. We didn't know which theory was going to land, and we didn't know exactly what was going to be presented, and we certainly don't know what the jury's going to do with it. But here's the point we learned today. In this closing, which is the last thing the jury's hearing, the DA is saying, don't even call it the National Enquirer. Call it the Trump Campaign Inquirer, because it's a secret arm of the Trump campaign, just like we asked McDougal's lawyer about it 6 years ago. And they told the jury these were illegal corporate contributions to the Trump campaign that Trump was not only aware of, but participated in, citing records of calls showing it'd be impossible for the Trump defense to claim Cohen was acting on his own here when it was all this deal from the top. So that's already a lot. Now, it's ongoing. You can see we have the live update on the side of the screen, so we will keep monitoring everything that's coming out in the hours ahead. But right there, I would argue we've caught you up in brief on some of the key points the prosecutors hit today as it's ongoing. That's some of the main line of attack they made. That was the offense. But I also want to make sure you understand, if you're interested in what was happening in court today, even though prosecutors, by definition, they have to be on the offense, they have the legal burden of proof, these prosecutors today also did some defense. And chronologically, it was actually where they began when they first got the ball today. It was earlier in the day, and they dealt with their star witness. It seemed like they were almost doing this first, like getting a chore out of the way. And I'll tell you something else. If you are watching this case and wondering if Trump is going to be definitely convicted, well, today we saw one sign the prosecutors are concerned that Trump's lawyers were effective and at least raising doubts about Cohen and through Cohen. And we saw that today because they began by trying to deal with this. The Trump lawyers had tried to put Cohen's credibility on trial, and prosecutors had about, I would argue, maybe three main ways to deal with this today. First, again, another reference to that common sense that we heard about. They told the jury, consider the utterly damning testimony of David Pecker, meaning they're arguing other witnesses back up Cohen. So this case and these alleged facts don't rise and fall on just him. Second, they made a less legal and more practical argument. And it's one that any Trump observer knows. You do not need a law degree. The people around Trump, who now have yet again become legal witnesses to Trump's actions, they're dodgy and sketchy and sometimes outright criminal. And the prosecutor argued that's not a bug, it's a feature. It's because Trump picked them. Here's the quote. We didn't pick Michael Cohen up at the witness store. No, Trump picked him. Now, that doesn't cancel out all of Cohen's issues, but it is their effort here in this key final period to reposition the admitted lying and shady practices, not as just a Cohen thing or a random witness thing, as coming from Trump. Flipping that back. This is a bit of legal jiu-jitsu. Okay, we can all agree he lies sometimes, but who does he lie for? And why does the Inquirer and Cohen and these various people lie this way and even cut deals this way? Well, guess what? The DA ultimately arguing because of defendant Trump, and that's a good thing for them, they say, for winning their case. So they argue Trump chose Cohen for the same qualities that he now wants the jury to reject him for. This willingness to outright lie, to cut corners, and yes, to break the law. And they used Trump's own words against him, reading from a book today where he had said he values loyalty above everything else, more than brains, drive, and energy. And remember, that doesn't just mean some kind of generic loyalty, like you might want a certain amount of loyalty with the people that you run with, ride or die, as the saying goes. No, they mean it in a much more damning way, that defendant Trump views loyalty as something that includes refusing to cooperate with police and law enforcement, or being honest and telling the truth under oath.
But I believe in loyalty. It's called flipping, and it almost ought to be illegal.
I would have wiped the floor with the guys that weren't loyal, which I will now do.
Prosecutors saying Trump handpicked a liar who would lie as part of loyalty because Trump's loyalty comes before truth. Now, that's more practical than legalistic terms. Sort of third and related, prosecutors pointed at times when Cohen did lie for Trump, like defending Russia contacts to Congress dealing with the Mueller probe, and said Trump's team trying to use that is not just hypocritical, it's what some people might call chutzpah, said Joshua Steinglass. A jury of people who've lived in New York for some time they are likely to know the Yiddish word chutzpah, that it means a kind of audacity or gall that outstrips etiquette or even reality itself. And, fact check true, it is a lot of chutzpah to take Michael Cohen's past lies for Donald Trump and say that means why you can't trust him now that he has allegedly come clean and is under oath explaining what he did for Trump. Criminals are often surrounded by criminals. Our legal experts and prosecutors have told us that. So this is part of what we're learning today, even as the hours go on, and they are staying later than usual tonight, so we have an active and ongoing summation, closing arguments here by the prosecutors. But the key parts we've heard already represent these many hours, and that kind of damning case I showed you that was pre-Cohen. All the stuff about the fact that either you believe what the receipts and the texts and the witnesses have told you, that there were these plots, more than one, to do illegal off-the-books campaigning for Donald Trump, or you have to believe something else, that Michael Cohen not only went rogue, that's part of the defense, but also that all these other people suddenly now match up with the version of what he said for some other unexplained reason. Again, the burden's on the prosecutors, but they certainly try to remind everyone why they have made such a strong case. And if you're watching this feeling like it's a knockout, remember, later in the hour we are going to go through the defense case and the closing arguments they made this morning. But I got to tell you, sitting there in 100 Center Street today, watching it all, you were reminded that this case has, even for a defendant who avoids email, a heck of a lot more receipts and texts and call logs than other cases that have resulted in convictions. If there's one more quote you might want to remember to understand this, the jury was reminded by the prosecutor today, it is difficult to conceive of a case with more corroboration than this. Do they have the defendant dead to rights? Is that a fair statement of the case?